So there you guys have it. That's my cinematic reel for 2020. What'd you think? That's my first reel that I've made, and I've seen a couple examples online on guides to create a cinematic reel. And today I want to talk to you about some tips and tricks on how to put together a cinematic reel of your footage. It's quite simple. It's good to have to showcase your videography abilities. So let's roll. So welcome back everybody. Today we're talking about cinematic reels and how you create them inside Premiere Pro. Now it's really important as a videographer that you showcase your cinematic material whenever you're putting material online or you're putting material on social media to showcase your abilities for people to hire you as a videographer. Now, I shot this reel as a cinematic reel, but I'm also putting together a drone aerial reel as well as a commercial separate cinematic reel too. It's nice to have 3 different options when showcasing your work to clients. So here are the top 5 things I learned when creating my cinematic reel for 2020. So number 1, don't make your reel too long. This is key. As I learned creating this first cinematic reel, it's very easy to include a lot of footage when you're making your reel for the first time. I mean, you're proud of your footage. You want to showcase all the work that you've done, but you gotta be strategic. I'd recommend taking notes down and writing ideas on shots that you've had in a notebook and just basically writing them down to see if potentially you have a good outline for videos and a flow for the feel of the video overall. This cinematic reel should feature a variety of different shooting styles, from handheld shooting to stabilized gimbal shooting to drone shooting, all kinds of ideas to showcase you as a videographer and the talents that you have. The optimal window for creating a video, as I've found, is about 45 seconds to about 1:15 minutes. Also, a bonus about 45 seconds and footage less than a minute is that you can put it on platforms like Instagram and you don't fall over that 1-minute catchment having to go into IGTV. So number 2 is be really organized when you're bringing your footage into the editing software you're going to use. So in this case in Premiere, I'd highly recommend dividing that footage up into categories and folders so you have easy access to be able to drop it on this timeline for when you're going to create the reel overall. It's important to know that the footage that you have can be minutes long, it can be hours long, and it can take you a lot of time to get through. So before you give yourself an impossible task, have that list in the notebook, have the ability of knowing what shots you're going to take. With this organization in place, you can then just drop and drag and put the clips on the timeline that you need. And in many cases, if you already have finalized footage that you like, you don't need to recolor grade and re-edit. That being said, we all love to make our work a little bit better. So for example, if you do have that footage on the timeline and you see something that you might want to correct, now's the time. You want to touch up a bit of that color grading, go right ahead. If you want to change that speed ramping a little bit, well, you can do it right now. This also offers the ability of repolishing what you've already polished. And in this case, I did a bit of repolishing with some of the clips that I've used, especially some of the clips from Scotland. I just color graded them a little bit differently, used certain different techniques I've used with saturation and hues and curves to get a little bit more out of the footage that I have. So once you got your organization in place, you got your files going, you've selected the clips that you want to use, and you're kind of aiming for the right time, let's pick some music. I love to take a look at music on SoundBed or Epidemic Sound that can give you a variety of different open source music for your projects that you're not paying royalties on and copyrights on. Also, many of these have really good indie music, and some of this music works perfectly with cinematic reels. Try to find something hopeful and momentous with your selection of audio that you're going to use. So hopeful music and that motivational style of presenting your footage engages to a wide audience. It doesn't alienate certain viewers from watching the video. And it also works well to showcase your ability in a new and brighter light to people who might hire you for a videographer. Not gonna fall into frame. Microphones, they're fun. So the next tip I have to say, and has nothing to do with microphones at all actually, it has nothing to do with microphones period. If you're gonna use drone footage, don't overdo it. Now it's a temptation to obviously have a lot of epic cinematic shots with your drone and sweeping shots sideways and looking down at your subject and point of interest and active track and all that kind of stuff that these amazing drones can do. Use it sparingly. Use it to really highlight a point in your music. And I would in many cases have a separate cinematic reel for drone footage. Not every client will want to have drone footage in their particular video shoot request. Drones are required for some shoots, they're not required for others, and showcasing more drone footage might hinder you from being selected as a videographer for a different project. In this case, try and find something that can tie in with your handheld video. Try to find footage that works hand in hand to create the overall effect for that particular scene. And speaking of scenes, try and shoot your videography with the storyline. Now, of course, all these shoots are different, so they're all gonna have a different feel, they're all gonna have a different look, they're gonna have a different style, but maybe try finding different shoots that might line up. You might be surprised in finding that you have footage that's similar because of the fact that you are the same videographer who shot both projects. Try and find commonalities to tie a storyline to your reel, so your reel is in a sense telling a story as well. So now that you're on the home stretch and you picked your music and you selected sparingly on the drone shots, you know the time frame you're gonna work with and you know the shots you're gonna use. In this case, I'd recommend looking at the small, finer tweaks to that final stage of getting your reel ready. So for example, do you wanna pop in some bars at the bottom to give it that cinematic anamorphic bar look, even if you didn't shoot with a cinematic anamorphic lens? You can put in some cropping on that particular video file through a little effect. You could drag it on with a ping file. You can make it look like the footage is squeezed out to give it that real, true, cinematic 8mm feel when you're looking at the footage on the reel. Maybe if you'd like to add titles, add them at the end. I wouldn't add too much in the way of animations. They're there to see your footage. They're not there to be distracted by any kind of like floating animations unless it's specific to your brand. If you're a marketing agency and you want to showcase branding and different types of typography that you'd use to promote your projects, then definitely put that in your reel. But in this case, for cinematic purposes and for videographers, I recommend just having a simple title at the end. It can fade in and fade out with a simple cross dissolve. It doesn't have to be too detailed in terms of what it can do. Now, having done this reel for the first time, I'd also recommend making your reel each year, because every year you're going to get different skills and different abilities as a videographer. So for example, this is my 2020 reel, but in 2021, I will also make a reel, and I'm going to utilize footage now that I'm going to shoot with my Z-Cam. I have an E2S6, which I cannot wait to do more work on to showcase on this channel and to talk about. But this video style of shooting, as well as this new video camera, can do things that my GH5 and my G9 could never do. So I cannot wait to have that next level of ability. Utilize what you have now, showcase it by all means, and know in the future that your next reel is going to be even better, regardless if you upgrade your gear or not, because you're going to have different abilities having worked in Premiere Pro or Final Cut or DaVinci that you didn't do when you made the reel for that time. And the last stage, of course, is posting your reel. And post your reel wherever you possibly can. I mean, post it on social media platforms, post it on YouTube, Vimeo, and also ask your friends and family to watch your reel and give critique and see what they think. And ask them what feeling did they get when they watched that reel for the first time, because that is what you're ultimately after, is a feeling that people get when they watch your digital content. Because now more than ever, everyone's shooting video. So what makes your video unique, and what feeling do you inspire within your viewer when they watch your content? So thanks again for watching, everybody. My name's Steven of Steven and JANAKA. Please hit that like button and subscribe button below so you can keep up to date on all the content we have coming up on product reviews and product giveaways, and also for some really cool things we have coming up, like short films on DJI Osmo Actions or reviews of cinematic cameras with the new Z-Cam that we have shooting with. So until next time, I look forward to seeing your cinematic reel. Put it on YouTube and be proud of it, because your footage is unique.